Let's bring in Gordon Lawson, CEO of Conceal, a company leading the fight to protect organizations from cyber threats and malicious web-based activity. There have been some red flags, at least some. The FBI and other security agencies, they've been talking about this. There's a warning after LA Unified School District was attacked in 2022, and there was a warning from the FBI that those attacks could increase into this school year. But are most parents in the dark about this?
I think most parents are in the dark, and as you said in the report, they're beholden to the school districts to give their students information over. So I think there's a couple elements here. First, there's the technical cyber element. We can talk about how to better defend against that. But I also think parents need to hold school boards accountable and make sure that good training is going on. This isn't always a case of where you have to spend millions of dollars in cyber defenses. There's other areas where you can train both faculty and students to be better, provide a better defense against a cyber threat.
What is it that makes them so vulnerable? Is it the identity theft of small children who likely wouldn't even know that their identity has been stolen until they're old enough to apply for a driver's license or enroll in college?
That's right. Those social security numbers that the threat actors are stealing are very valuable. They can be used to create credit cards or have fake credit cards in the future, fake identities on the dark web. So those are very easy to get and make it very, very vulnerable. But I think the other piece that makes school districts good targets for these bad guys is that a credential theft or phishing attack where the ransomware occurs is often a psychological attack. So you're luring someone with something like free gift cards or a huge discount at a retailer. And I think especially young people or people who haven't been trained in how these attacks look are very susceptible to them and will click on those links. They'll give up credentials, and that's how these sorts of attacks tend to originate.
And is it the cost of cybersecurity that makes districts vulnerable as well? They're just not spending the money on something like this.
There is that piece of it, but I'll say, Adrienne, that, just from our company, for an example, we sell to these school districts. There are affordable solutions out there. It's not just that, but you have to invest a little bit. But I think it goes hand in hand with making sure there's awareness of what these threats look like. So continuous training, a higher level of security controls, all of those things will make these districts less susceptible to the attacks. But the education is super important because the threat actors and nation-state-backed threat actors are getting more and more sophisticated in the types of phishing attacks that they're putting out there.
Yeah, and if we as employees have to constantly take these security tests to remind us of phishing attacks, maybe students need to as well as teachers. But are parents empowered at all? I mean, we talk all the time about how people are upset about what their children are being taught, whether they have a certain kind of curriculum or books in the library. We're not talking enough about this. Can they do anything?
Well, I think they can. I think that there is accountability at the school board level, depending on the municipality. Sometimes school boards are made up of parents. They're not just administrators. Sometimes they're elected, sometimes they're not. But I think that is the area where they can provide feedback and say, if my child's sensitive health records have been released, we demand accountability. We demand to know what you're doing to protect us from this. And I think that what you're seeing is, of course, the threat actors are targeting very large districts because they think that there's more money there. But how many hundreds or thousands of school districts across the country are we not hearing about that they're being attacked too? And so I think parents should be vocal about this, should demand accountability, and should demand that they should know what technical controls are in place to protect our child's identities and sensitive information, and they should be vocal about that.
Gordon, is so important. Thank you so much for making time early on this Thursday. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.